Good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to be graphing this equation. So how are you supposed to graph this polynomial? Number one, you must first factorize it. So firstly, how do you factorize this? So you are going to use the try and error method. See the number that is going to give you a remainder of 0 when you replace here. So that number, let's say we try our f of 1. This will give you 1 to the power 3. Then we have plus 3. Then we have 1 times 2 minus our 4. So we are going to have 1 to the power 3 is 1. Then we have plus 3. 1 to the power 2 is 1. Then we have minus 4. So we have our 1 plus 3. This will give us a 4 minus 4. So f of 1 is giving us a value that is equal to 0. So if 1 is a factor, then we are going to quickly use the synthetic division, where we are going to have our powers like this. So we have the synthetic division. So on the synthetic division, we are going to look at what is the highest power is 3. So we are going to say x to the power 3, reduce x to the power 2, x to the power, and then x to the power of 0. Then put the coefficient that represent that. Now remember, here we have said that x is equal to 1. So x is equal to 1 is working in the sense that it is the one that is giving us a remainder of 0. So whichever is giving you the remainder of 0, that's the one you use. So we are going to say 1. Then the coefficient of x cubed, according to the equation that is saying 3x, according to the equation that is saying x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4. So we are going to put, where there is x to the power 3, put the coefficient which is our 1. X to the power 2, there is the coefficient which is our 3. Then x to the power of 1, there is no number that is having 3x just. So we are going to put a 0 there. Then we have our x to the power 0. The number without x is equal to negative 4. Then we are going to work it out. We are going to drop our 1 there. So what we are going to have is that drop the 1, then multiply 1 times 1. This will give us 1. Then add 3 plus 1, that gives us 4. Multiply 1 times 4. This will give us a 4. Add 0 plus 4. This will give us a 4 like that. Multiply 1 times 4. This will give us a positive 4. Add negative 4 plus our 4. This will give us 0. So that means to say the equation that we had, which was our x to the power 3 plus our 3x squared minus our 4, should be equal to, look at the x is equal to 1. That means to say when it comes this side, it will be x minus 1. So we are going to write that x minus 1. Then multiply it with the new thing, which is, where there is 1, you are going to put your x to the power of 2. So you reduce by 1. Then you are going to have plus your 4x until you go to x to the power 0. So this is your equation. So from here, you are going to factorize this. So x squared plus our 4x plus our 4. So factorizing this, we are going to get a product should be equal to AC, which is equal to, so our A is this one, B is this one, C. So our A is 1 times our C is 4. So we are going to get a positive 4 for that one. Then we are going to have our sum, which is the B value. In this case, it is equal to 4. Then we are going to have factors, two values, which when we multiply them, they are going to give us 4. But when we add them, they are going to also give us 4. So these are our values. From here, we are just going to replace. So we have our x squared, where there is 4x. That's where we are going to put these values, 2, but attach them with x, 2x plus 2x plus 4. Factorize. So factorizing in parts, this x is common here. So we are going to have x, open brackets, we are remaining with our x plus 2. Then we have plus. Here we are remaining with factorize a 2. We are going to remain with our x plus our 4 divided by 2. That will give us a 2 like that. Then have two brackets. We are going to have our x plus 2 and our x plus our 2 like that. So that means to say the equation which was saying x plus plus 3x squared minus 4. This one should be equal to, we had x minus 1 and this new one, which is our x plus 2, x plus 2, and our x plus our 2, like that. So writing it, so this is the same as having our x minus 1. Then this one and this one are the same. So we can say x plus a 2, then we raise it to squared, meaning it's repeating twice. So this is what we have. When it has been expressed in its factorized form, we can now be able to graph it. So how do we graph this one? So firstly, you need to know where you have, if you have, let's say, x squared, wherever you have an even power, like x to an even power, it could be x to the power 4, it could be x to the power 6. At this point, your graph only touches the curve. It does not cross, it touches the curve. So let's do the necessary things. So this is the same as having y should be equal to x minus 1. Then we have our x plus 2 squared. Let's find our x-intercept. So our x-intercept, y is equal to 0. So at that point where the graph passes the x-axis, so since it's along the x-axis, your y value is always equal to 0 at that point. So we are going to have our 0 should be equal to our x minus 1, our x plus 2 squared. So it's either x minus 1 is equal to 0 or your x plus 2 squared is equal to 0. So take the one this side, we are going to have our x is equal to 1, or we are going to have find the square root to eliminate that. So we are going to have our x plus our 2 should be equal to a 0. Take the 2 the other side, it will be equal to negative 2. So these are our x-intercepts. So we have x is equal to 1 and x is equal to negative 2. So the y-intercept on the other hand, your x value should be equal to 0. So at all points along the y-axis, your x value is always equal to 0. So for the equation that is saying y should be equal to x minus 1 and x plus our 2 squared, where there is x, we are going to say y should be equal to a 0 minus 1 and a 0 plus 2. Then we have squared there. So what we are going to have is y should be equal to a negative 1. Then we are going to have a 2 squared. So 2 squared, so we have negative 1 times 2 squared is 4. So our y value at that point should be equal to a negative 4. From there, let's now come up with a table to just look at some more values. So what we have is that our x-intercept, we have our x is equal to positive 1 and our x is equal to negative 2. So now let's use first our number line to estimate the region. So we have a positive 1 and a negative 2. So all the values that are this side, we could have negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. All of them are such that they are less than negative 2. Now all the values that are on the right of 1, we could have 1, 2, 3, 4. All of them are greater than 1. Then finally, all the values that are in between, so here we could have negative 1. All of them are greater than negative 2. So we can say our x is greater than negative 2, but at the same time, it should be less than, the last value should be less than 1, like that. So from there, let's come up with a table. So we are going to write our factors. So we have factors like that. Then the factors are the ones which we have factorized. So we have our x minus 1 and our x plus 2 squared. So we are going to write those. So x minus 1 and our x plus 2 squared, like that. So therefore, what we are going to have is that we are going to write these intervals. So our x is less than -2 and -2 is less than x is less than 1. Then we have, last but not the least, we have the last interval, which is our x is greater than 1, like that. So we have our factors, then whatever result, that's our f of x, which is our y value in that case. So if x is less than -2, it means to say x can be a value such as -3. Then an interval from -2 to 1, x from -2 we have -2, -1, 0, 1. So we can use our x is equal to -1 since we have already used a 0 to find the y-intercept. So we have our last one, our x should be equal to, from, if x is greater than 1, it means to say x could be a value such as 2. If you want, you can use 3. So we have a -3, we put it here, we are going to get a -3, we put it here, we are going to have a -3 minus 1, which is equal to a -4. So we are going to get a -4 like that, -4 like that. Then when we get our -3, we put it here, we are going to have -3 plus our 2, then we have squared. Then we are going to get a -3 plus 2, that will give us a -1. So inside here we are going to get a -1, -1 squared, that gives us a +1. So we are going to get a +1 like that. Then multiply them. So a -4 times 1, this will give us a -4 like that. Then finally we have a -4 there. Then what we are going to get is that let's look at the other value that we are getting. So we are going to have a -1 when we put it here. We are going to have a -1 minus 1. This will give us a -2. So we are replacing that value. Then when we get our -1, we put it here. We are going to have -1. Let's just remove that. So we have a -1 there. So here we are going to have a -1 plus 2 squared. This will give us a value that is equal to a +1. So -1 plus 2 will give us +1. +1 squared is just 1. So therefore we have a 1 there. Then we are going to get a -1. We put it here. Yeah, so we have -2 times 1. This will give us a -2 like. Moving on. So we are at x is equal to 2. When we put 2 here, we are going to have 2 minus 1, which will be equal to a +2 there. So there we are going to get a +2. Then here when we get our 2, we put it here. We are going to get a 2 plus our 2. Then we have a squared. So 2 plus 2 is 4 squared. That will give us a 16. So we are going to get a +16 here. Then when we get a 2, we multiply 2 times this, we are going to get a 32 like that. Sorry for that. So here 2, when we get our 2 minus 1, this will give us a 1 like that. So here we are supposed to get a +16 like that. So we are going to get a +16. So with these values, let's just compile them. So what we have is that we have a -3, comma, a -4. So the value you have used, the value that you have used as your x value is -3, so you have to write it there. Then here we used a -1, so we have to put it -1, comma, the result is a -2 there. Then last but not the least, we used a +2, so we are going to say 2, comma, a +16. So with this, we are going to now come up with our graph. So this is what we have. So let's write. So the coordinates that we have 1, 2, 3. We have -1, -2. So now let's choose a favorable scale. So if we have -4, -2, and a 16, so the most favorable scale is for us to use 4s. So 4, 8, 12, and 16, like that. Then down here we are going to use a -4, -8 there. So now when we do this, let's now graph. So our intercepts are at -2, -2, which was our x-intercept, if you recall. So our x-intercept is at -2 and +1. So at also +1 there. Then our y-intercept was found to be a -4. If you recall, our y is equal to -4 when x is equal to 0. So we are going to put it there. Then the other values that we have, when x is equal to -1, our y value is corresponding with this value that is here, which is a -2. Then we are going to have other values such as when x is equal to 2, here it is giving us a 16. So we have a 2, a positive 16 there. So we have 2, positive 16. So we have something like this. Then all we have to do now is to connect the points. Then we also had -3. So when we had a -3, it was corresponding with a -4. So that means to say it is a point that is here. So our graph passing through these points look like something like this. Let's continue it. So until we go like that. So these are our points. So this is how the graph is moving. So the graph will continue to move even more depending on the value. So it's like that. So this is our graph. So remember, at this point it does not cross, so you should not cross it. So as you can see, this is not crossing, it should just touch. As long as at that point the intercept was such that it had a power like x plus 2 to the power of 2, that means to say it should not cross at that point. So that is how we graph graphs that have to do with where we have our x to the power of 2 or anything like that. Let's try out this one as well. So if we have an equation that is looking like this, the first thing is that we have our x throughout, so we can factorize it by saying y should be equal to, let's remove our negative x, so the lowest power is 2, so we are going to say power 2. Then negative x, if we remove there, it will be positive, so we are going to remain with 2 of them. Then we have plus our 3, minus, since this is negative, so it will change, minus our 3, the power is 3, so we are going to have x like that. Then our negative divided by negative, it will be positive our 2, so that means to say we have factorized that one. So let's factorize now our x squared minus our 3x plus our 2. So our product which is equal to AC should be equal to 1 times 2, which is a 2. Our sum, which is equal to a -3. Our factor is equal to a -2 and a -1, like that. So these are our factors, so we can replace x squared minus, we have 2x minus x plus our 2. So we are going to get a factorizing in parts. So we have our x minus 2 and -1, x minus 2, like that. So we have our x minus 2 and our x minus -1, like that. So what we can do here now is that for our equation that is -x to the power 4, then we have plus our 3x to the power 3 minus our 2x to the power 2. This should be equal to, we wrote x squared, then just combine it with this, so we have our x minus 2 and our x minus 1. So this is what we have. So that means our y should be equal to, we have our negative x squared open brackets x minus 2 and our x minus 1, like that. So if this is what we have, we are going to now be able to find the x-intercept. Y should be equal to 0. So what we have is that our negative x squared should be equal to 0, or our x minus 2 should be equal to 0, or our x minus 1 should be equal to a 0. So what we are going to have is that negative 1, x squared is equal to 0 still. So we find the square root. So the square root on both sides, we are going to have x should be equal to 0. We take the 2 the other side, it will be x is equal to 2. We take the 1 the other side, it will be x is equal to positive 1, like that. So therefore, we have found what our x is equal to 0, x is equal to 2, and our x is equal to 1. So let's find our y-intercept. X is also equal to 0 at that point. So y should be equal to negative x squared. Then we had our x minus 1 and our x minus 2. So this is the equation that we have. So we are going to say our y should be equal to 0. We have a negative, which we can just write as 0 squared. It's just 0, 0 minus 1, 0 minus 2. So as long as we have a 0 outside, it means to say y at that point will be equal to 0 as well, because 0 times whatever outcome will be there will also be equal to 0. Then from there, let's come up with our number line. So we have a 0, we have a 1, we have a 2. So all these values that are on the left of 0 are such that they are less than 0. Here we should have an interval, which will be our 0 is less than x is less than 1. Then here, all the values from here to here, all of them are such that they are greater than 1, but at the same time less than 2. Then last but not the least, we are going to have our 1, our 2, our x should be greater than 2. All the values that are on the right of 2 are greater than 2, like that. So now with this, let's come up with a table. So we should have factors on our table. We are going to have our x is less than 0. We are writing our intervals. X less than 1. Then we have 1 less than x less than 2. Then we have our x at this point is greater than 2, like that. So now with this, we are now going to just write our factors. So we had our negative x squared, we have our x minus 1, like that. We also have our x minus our 2. Then whatever we will have, that's our y value. So those are our factors, our x minus 1 and our x minus 2. So now, if x is less than 0, it means to say x at this point can be equal to a negative 1. If from 0 to 1, here the number in between, we can put a 1 over 2, which is a 0.5. So x at this point can be equal to, x can be equal to a 1 over 2. Then here, from 1 to 2, so from 1 to 2, we could have a number in between, which is a 1.5. 1.5 is the same as 3 over 2. So x at this point can be equal to a 3 over 2. Then last but not the least, our x can be equal to, if x is greater than 2, it could be equal to a 3 there. So now let's do our calculations. So when we put our negative 1 here, we are going to have a negative, open brackets, negative 1 squared. Negative 1 squared gives us a positive value. So negative 1 squared is positive 1. Negative 1 times negative times positive 1, it will give us a negative 1. So for the first one, we are going to have a negative 1. If we get our negative 1, we put it here, it will be negative 1 minus 1. This will give us a negative 2. So we are going to write negative 2 like that. We get this one, we put it here, it will be negative 1 minus 2. This will give us a negative 3. So negative 3. Negative 3 by negative 2, that's positive 6. Times negative 1, that will give us a negative 6, like that. Then we are here. If we put half here, we are going to have negative, then half to the power of 2. So half to the power of 2 is such that it will be a 1 over 2 squared. That gives us a 4. So we are going to have a negative outside, then we have a 1 over a 4, like that. Then when we get our half, we put it here, it will be half minus 1. Half minus 1 will give us a value that is equal to negative 1 over 2. So you can just do the calculations. So we have negative 1 over 2. So let's just do for this one. We have 1 over 2 minus 1. This will give us, common denominator is 2. 2 divided by 2, that's 1, times 1, that's 1. So we have 2 divided by 1, that's 2, times 1, that will give us a 1, or a 2, sorry. So we have 1 minus 2, it's giving us negative 1 over a 2. So here we have a negative 1 over 2. Then 1 over 2 minus this one. So if you do the same, we are going to have 1 minus 2. This 1 over 2 minus 2. This will give us a negative 3 over 2. Do the calculation. Then finally, we are going to multiply. So multiplying these, we are going to get a negative 1 over 4. We multiply it with negative 1 over 2 times negative 3 over 2. So this will give us negative times negative, that's positive, times negative, that's negative. Then 3 times 1 times 1, we are going to get 3 over 2 times 2, that's 4, times 4, that's 16. So our final answer here is a negative 3 over a 16, like that. Then when we get a 3 over 2, we put it here. We are going to get a 3 over 2 squared. This will give us a negative is outside, so we are going to put a negative 9. So 3 squared is 9 over 4. Then when we get this, we put it here. We are going to have 3 over 2 minus 1. This will give us a value that is equivalent to 1 over 2 if you do your calculation. So this is equal to a 1 over a 2 there. So we have a 1 over 2, then positive for that matter, because 3 over 2 is 1.5. So minus 1, it will give you 0.5, which is the same as having a 1 over 2. You get your 3 over 2 here. 3 over 2, I've said that that's 1.5 minus 2. That will give you a negative 0.5. And 0.5 is equal to 1 over 2. So negative 1 over a 2 there. Then we multiply everything. We are going to get a... So if we multiply everything, we are going to get a value that is equivalent to, so a negative 9 over 4, we multiply it by 1 over 2 times negative 1 over 2. This will give us negative times positive times negative, it will be positive. 9 times 1 times 1, that will be 9 over a 2 times 2 is 4 times 4, that's equal to a 16. So we are going to put a 9 over 16 there. Last but not the least, if we put a 2 here, it will be a negative open brackets 2 squared, which will give us a 4. So remember, the negative is outside, so it won't be positive. So it will be a negative 4. So we are going to put a negative, sorry, not 2. We are using a 3, the value here. So we have negative 3 squared, that's a negative 9, like that. If we get the 3, we put it here, it will be 3 minus 1. This will give us a value that is equivalent to 2. Then when we get our 3, we put it here, it will be a 3 minus 2. This will give us a value that is equivalent to 1. So 3 minus 2 gives us a positive 1. Then multiply negative 9 times 2, that's 18. Negative 18 times 1, that's negative 18, like that. So this is how we have found our values to be like that. So these are our values that we have found. So therefore, what we are going to do is that with these, let's just be able to identify them. So this -6, we used a -1, so it's -1 comma -6. Then this one, half, we used a 3/16. Then this other one, for our 3/2, the outcome is a 9/16. Then last but not the least, when we use our 3, we are getting a 3 comma a -18, like that. So this is how we have found those values. So therefore, since we have found those values, let us now be able to use these values to come up with a graph. So let's begin. So now, the base scale, since the highest number is 18, we are going to use 4s. So this will be our 4, 8, 12, 16. Then we are going to have our 18. So we have a +4. So all these are negatives. -20. So now, let's now put our values. So we have a 1 comma -6. So we are going to go at 1 comma -6. That's in between our 6. That's in between our 8 and our 4. Then the other coordinate that we have is, we have a 1/2. 1/2 is here, comma a -3/16. Now you need to approximate what is -3/16. So -3/16 is equal to a 0 point. You add a 0. 30 divided by 16, that's about 1. Remainder is 14. 14, you add a 0. So 16 divided by 40, 16 divided by 140, that's somewhere 8. So you have a 0 point somewhere 2. So that's just a value that is somewhere here. So if this is 4, so we could have a point that is very, very close to the graph, like that. Then we are going to look at our next value, our 3/2, comma 9/16. So 9/16 is also equal to a 0 point. We add a 0. 90 divided by 16, because 80 divided by 16, that gives you 5. So it's approximately a 5 point something. So we're just going to go at 0.5. So 0.5. So 3/2 is a number in between. So we have 0.5. So that's somewhere here. Then this is just not drawn to scale. Then we are going to have our 3 comma -18. So we go at 3 comma -18. So it is a point like that. So this is comma -18, like that. So this is what we have. Our intercept is at 0. We found our x-intercepts to be at 0. Now remember, it was -x². So as long as you have the power 2 on x, that simply means to say at that point the graph will only touch it, but it will not cross it. So therefore, let's be able to now graph it. Okay, sorry for that. It's half comma -3.2, not -half. So here we are going to remove that point. So it's supposed to be here, half comma that point, which will look like somewhere here, like that. So the other intercept is at, we found the other intercept to be at 2. The other intercept is at 2. X is equal to 2 and x is equal to 1. So we have the graph is passing at this point and this point. Now this point, it is x², so it shall only touch the graph. So let's graph it. So we are going to have something like this. Let's just make it a bit more blue. So we have a graph that is looking like that, and then we continue from there. We are going to have something like this. So this is our graph, not a straight line. Not a straight line. So we are going to have something like this. So this is our graph. Let us just name the graph. So this graph is our y should be equal to negative x squared. Then we have our x minus 1. Then we have our x minus 2. So x minus our 2 there. So this is how we do that graph. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you would like, subscribe, and share for more. See you in the next tutorial.